Kia ora e te whānau, and welcome back to Returning to Wholeness with Catherine Parslight, the space where we explore consciousness, healing, wairua, and deep layers of who we truly are. In today's episode, I'm joined by the incredible Deidre Wilton, astrologer, teacher, guide, and a woman who brings profound clarity to the energetic currents we're all navigating. This kōrero arrives at such a potent moment in time. We are closing the energetics of a year 9 and entering the fresh, activating wairua of a year 1, a shift from completion into initiation, from release into rebirth. A year 9 strips everything back. It exposes truth. It reveals what is complete, what is finished, and what cannot follow us into the next chapter. For those aligned to their core, this year has brought deep breakthroughs. For those disconnected, it's brought challenge, agitation, and discomfort, all guiding us back to authenticity. We've just moved through the intense Scorpio gateway, the underworld work, the emotional x-rays, the shadow excavation, and now we're shifting into the expansive, playful, and truth-seeking energy of Sagittarius. Sagittarius reconnects us with joy, nature, movement, freedom, adventure, and the parts of ourselves that return to life when we breathe deeper and live wider. In this episode, Deidre and I kōrero about the turning point, the final shedding of old timelines, the rising momentum calling us forward into new beginnings. We explore sovereignty, choosing where your energy goes, understanding that focus shapes your reality, and recognizing that we can each amplify either fear or peace through our own consciousness. Deidre shares powerful insights into navigating change, staying anchored in your truth, and using these energetic shifts as invitations to step into your highest timeline. If you've been feeling endings, beginnings, pressure, clarity, confusion, contraction, or expansion, or all of it at once, this kōrero will help you make sense of this transition and remind you of the power you hold within. And whānau, if this episode speaks to your wairua, please like, share, and subscribe. Your support helps this kaupapa reach more people who truly need these conversations. And I am deeply grateful. Let's dive on in. Kia ora, Deidre. Welcome to the podcast. How are you?
Kia ora, Catherine. I'm good, thank you. Lovely to be here.
Yay, it's lovely to have you. So where do we start, Deidre? What a year we have had, and we're almost
Yes.
at the end of it.
What a year.
What
You
a
know,
year.
interestingly, the 2020s were always touted as being the most challenging years of the century, where everything was going to fall, everything was going to happen, which, you know, basically this is what we've seen since 2020, you know, from COVID to wars. So much has gone on. You know, everything on a deeper level has been very much, I believe, about authenticity. 2025 has been a year where you've got to have learned or worked out how to be who you are on the inside, the same as you are on the outside. You know, people who were pretending to be what they weren't or trying to be what they weren't. You know, it wasn't necessarily people doing, you know, pretending to be nasty or manipulating or anything like that. Just people thinking that they were something that they're not. And so we had to really understand who we truly are and align ourselves with our authenticity so that we know that whenever we speak and whatever we do is completely aligned with who we are. You know, so many people out there, for instance, a good example of the amount of people out there in jobs who are just in that job to make a living, which of course there's nothing wrong, you've got to make a living, but you know, they've got an ability to do something else really well, and that's your authenticity. And you know, putting that down or not embracing that or not going down that road means that you're not allowing yourself to be the true version of yourself. But you know, a lot of people have found themselves very stuck. You know, you've got to make a living, you've got to make money, things have got really hard, and so they're ending up in jobs and doing things that make them miserable and that aren't you know, doing what they really want to do. So we had Saturn and Neptune were in Pisces for some of this year, and then they've both sort of moved into Aries, and now they've sort of retrograded back into Pisces and they're seesawing back and forth. About February next year, they'll be solidly, January, February next year, they're solidly in Aries for the next 3 to 15 years. So this Pisces energy that we've been experiencing for 15 years with Neptune there and only 3 years with Saturn there has been the energy of illusion. And so it's been very hard for people to understand who they are and what they know because we're getting told all the time, you're this, you behave that way, so you must have this. I mean, I said to someone the other day that, you know, most people from my generation, you know, when you put your name down, and you've got a degree, those are the letters you put after your name. But this younger generation, they put their medical, their mental health stuff there. I'm such and such, and I've got ADHD, and I've got ADD, and yes, of course you do, but that's not how you're supposed to define yourself. You're
No,
not you're
no,
not what's wrong with you. You're not your illness. You're a person, and that's the authenticity. Because I think a lot of younger people, especially, have labelled themselves as a way to feel that there's something. But when you've got to label yourself as something that's a challenge, it's not ideal. It's
no.
not making you feel good about yourself.
No. And so when we look at that, and I guess that's it coming down to who are we?
Mm.
Who are we as at the core being of ourselves? Not what role do we play out in the world?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
who are we? Who are
Yeah.
we as a soul?
Yeah. And we've been moved way far away from that. We haven't been asked anymore to explore that. We're so conditioned to you are this or you are that, and you do this or you do that, and that's how you identify yourself. But that's just what you do. It's not who you are.
Right. That's right.
Mm.
And so what would you say, how would you say who you are? So if they were doing that
Yeah.
self-analysis, how would you define that?
For myself,
Yeah.
well, I'm as guilty as of many people, because I really, if someone says to me, I really define myself by what I do for a job. I really do, and I know I probably
Mm.
shouldn't define
Um,
myself that much as it, but it's just such a big part of my life and what I do that it is me. So yeah, no, I would define myself as being a down to earth and compassionate person who's here to help people. And I genuinely, that's what I am and do. And I do that in every aspect of my life, not just in the work that I do. I like to help people. I like to make people's lives better for them help them to make their lives better for themselves. But that's what I do. And so that's my mission in this lifetime. So that's how I define myself. And I don't try and be what I'm not. I don't tell people I can fix you. I can rescue you. I will, solve all of your problems with one session with me. I mean, anyone who says that, no, I'd be run a mile from anyone who said that. But I can help you. I can
yes.
definitely help you and give you some tools and help you to understand some things. And so that's how I define myself. How do you define yourself?
I feel like I am similar. How would I define myself? Yes. So when I think about, I go straight to I'm a mother. I'm a
Yeah.
loving, kind, caring mother who just wants the best for my children, and I want to make a big impact in the world by helping others return to their authenticity and wholeness. But yes, no, I don't. Deirdre, I don't even think about that. But what I, what I
It is a difficult one to answer.
but I think it's also something that we all need to be asking ourselves. I really
Mm,
do. I think it's
yeah.
important. Oh, so 2025, the year of authenticity.
Yeah. So
So
the
we've
year of
been yes,
authenticity, and also it was a number 9 year. So it was a year of
number 9.
endings. Yeah, and
Yes.
so that's been really important too. So I think we may have talked about this before, but anything that's not working in your life, that's slipping through your fingers, that's just not working for you, this is the universe telling you this is not for you anymore. You've used it up, you've outgrown it. It's not doesn't have what you need anymore. It's time to move on. And so 2026 will be a number 1 year, so a year of new beginnings. But to start something new, we've got to shut the old door. We've got to clear the
Yeah.
way so something new can come in. And so if we're still stuck holding on to things that are not working for us, but that are habitual, because that's where it gets very, very stuck, all of us, and what's comfortable and what's habitual. And we look at this with friendships, for instance. How many friends do we all have that have been a friend of yours for forever, and it's become a habit rather than a need? And
Uh,
a- and not that I say go and get rid of all your friends or anything, but just being aware of what's right for you and what's not,
yes,
and
yes.
celebrating and moving more into what makes you happy and less away from what just ticks a few boxes or just gets you by.
Yes. So going back to closing out those loops, and that's what
Mm.
I come cycles is how I kind of see it, but
Yeah.
also patterns, right? So however way you want to word it, but when because what I have been noticing with myself is that I'm having these patterns resurface, and it's always outside of myself. So it's always things that
Mm.
I feel are outside of my control.
Mhm.
Like things that happen in my family, things that happen in the workplace. So clearly, I know that I am manifesting and creating my reality, and I'm a co-creator with Source. I have that understanding, but still, it feels like it's not within my reach to control.
No,
How
no.
do we deal with that?
Well, it's about being aware of what's yours and what's not.
Yes.
I mean, if you can't control it, then it's not yours. And really the only thing we can control is ourselves. We
Mm,
can't
mm.
really control our children. I mean, we can tell them what to do, but they might not do it. But, we really can't control another person. And I mean, you can try, but it's just not a good idea. So, but you
No.
can control yourself and you can control how you react to everything. And
Yes.
that's the key, really, is that reaction. If people
Yes.
are going to do whatever they're going to do, they're going to say things to you, they're going to do things to you, and you can't change that. But you can always change whether you're going to take that on board or not. And I just, constantly say to people, what someone says to you is only their opinion. It's not
Yes.
necessarily true. It's not
No.
necessarily valid. It's just their opinion. So why allow an opinion to have so much emphasis on you? So we've all been dealing with a lot of stuff and a lot of people around us going through things that we obviously want to help them with or ease their pain or ease their suffering. But again, they've chosen, when we all choose our lives before we're born. So we've chosen to go through these things. And if you're around somebody who's going through a difficult time, then you're with them because you've got something to learn from this as well. It's not necessarily that you're here to fix it. You just, yeah.
I feel like every time I go through these cycles, because I see the patterns as I'm watching these different patterns come up, and I see them manifesting in different areas of my life, and I feel like each time they come up, each time this pattern comes up, and I change the way I react to it, I change the way I respond. Um, each time the pattern comes up again, it's a little bit different. It's a little bit more
Mm,
subtle. So it's about going through those lessons and learning different ways. So as I believe that
yeah,
we draw these lessons into our existence so that we can grow and expand. And
yeah,
so each time they come back around, it's almost like your reference point of, oh, look, I'm dealing with that a little bit different this time. Oh, look,
yeah,
I'm actually managing this a lot better. And then once we really have mastered that, they don't come up anymore. And
yeah.
that's our souls that say,
Yeah. So you've been tested because basically, there's something that triggers you that you react to, and maybe your mother does it. Every time she says a certain thing or
oh,
does a
the
certain thing,
mothers,
you
oh, the
react. Yes, mum.
mothers.
Yes. And then you go, okay, I'm just not going to react to this anymore. This is her. This is what she does. This is who she is. Whatever. I'm carrying
Yeah.
on. You're not going to push my buttons anymore. And so the universe goes, okay, she thinks she's learned that. Let me bring that lesson in for her from somebody else and see how she
Yes.
reacts this time. And it's just a test. And you've passed the test when there's no reaction, when you don't care either way. Not you don't not care, but it's just like, oh, that's interesting. Moving on. Rather than,
Yes.
oh my goodness, I've got to do something about that. Oh, that really hurt me. It's just like, okay, that's interesting. What's next?
Yes, yes. I mean that, yeah, and that just rings so true to me because of what I know in regards to spirituality and all the rest of it. Like I feel like everything is oh well, that's another rabbit hole that we won't go down today. So
Okay.
yeah, no. Okay, so 2025. So we're at the end of 2025. We've just gone through a little scorpion season.
Yes. And it was a particularly intense, the Scorpio season. A lot of
Scorpio, sorry,
people,
Scorpio season.
I think because, Scorpio energy, also Scorpio season, mid-October to mid-November every year. And so we also know that by the same time most of us get to the end of the year, we're all a bit exhausted. And but this has been a very, very full-on year for everybody. And so people aren't coping as well as they usually do because they're tired and overwhelmed.
Yes.
And so Scorpio season came along this year and it just ripped the rug out from under people's feet. And this is, Scorpio is ruled by Pluto, and this is the work of Pluto. So the work
Okay.
of Pluto is throughout the year, all these people that sort of went down in a heap or had big challenges over this last 4 weeks have been nudged along the way all year. This is something you need to deal with. This is something you need to look at. This
Mm,
is something that needs to change. And they've
mm,
ignored it. And so Scorpio
mm.
season comes, okay, we gave you a chance. You chose not to learn it. Right. Let's rip the rug out from under your feet, make you fall flat on your face. Now what are you going to do? And that's where people,
What is that? Tough love. Tough love.
it's tough love from the universe. Yeah. But there's always an opportunity to do it the easy way, but we don't choose it. So,
Mm,
and
mm.
because Scorpio energy is so deep and it's so intense, a lot of emotional stuff was coming up for a lot of people. All of their deepest, darkest fears, all of their shadow came up, that real dark, uh, you know, self-loathing,
Yes.
lack of belief in yourself, all of those really negative things of the human mind came up because that's what Scorpio energy can often do. And so, and it really hammered a lot of people. But now we're in Sagittarian energy, we get a chance to look at the truth of it and do something with it. So now we get
So
to become experts at what we've been through.
amazing, that's perfect. But when we look back at what others have been through, so I saw kind of a common theme of, mental health breakdowns,
Yeah, yeah.
where people have been managing their own mental health the best way that they can, whether that be with, drugs, just
Therapy, whatever.
therapy, seeking that dopamine hit, just to be able to kind of maybe self-medicate in some forms. Yeah. So you've had said beforehand, if you start listening to those subtle nudges before we get to the Scorpio season,
Yeah,
it's going to probably not impact you as much. Is that what
yeah,
is that
yeah,
that the
absolutely.
remedy for it?
Yeah, because, once you hit Scorpio, Scorpio, the shadow of Scorpio is that need to transform at a very deep level, and it's the
Yes.
transforming the shadow. We all have a shadow side to ourselves, the part of you that you bury deep inside of you that isn't your friend often,
No.
but can actually have a lot of potential in it too. And so for
Yes.
Scorpio, I mean, it's that falling into the victim, and once you fall into that victim, you're like in this
Yes.
big deep black hole, and
Yeah.
how you're waiting for someone to come and rescue you. And this is, I think, what the problem with the whole authenticity, sovereignty, all of that is that people of our age, I mean, I'm a lot older than you, but we've been through enough in life to know that life changes all the time. This too shall pass, all of that. The young
Yeah.
people that are up and coming now, anyone from teenagers to people in their 20s, they haven't had that life experience. And when they look at the world around them, it's a terrifying place because everything is constantly changing. They can't rely on the things that we used to be able to rely on at all. And so they're under a lot of stress. So, what they do, because they haven't been given any tools on how to cope with that and how to, in some ways, I think maybe we've made it too easy, or not too easy, we've made it harder for our kids because we've pandered to them. We've
Yes.
allowed them to have these feelings and go through things, which is important. And I don't think it's the wrong thing to do, but have we sort of stripped them a little bit of their their own personal resources to
Mm.
actually get back on the saddle?
And I do believe that. I believe that every time we go through a challenge, it is around us. I refer to, being in the gym and lifting a heavier weight each time, each time each challenge comes along. And it's about this building that strength up, building that resilience up. And so
Yeah.
when we do, you kind of look at it from that perspective where are we enabling our children instead of giving them the tools to be able to overcome these challenges on their own? But say that to a mother that's deep in it. What are you going to do? You're going to rescue.
Yeah.
That's just what you do.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
completely understandable, but I guess it's
Yeah.
about once we've done the rescuing, we give them the tools so that they're able to no longer need to be rescued.
Yeah, absolutely. And I always remember a psychologist saying to me years and years ago that a mother is only ever as happy as her most unhappy child. And it's so true.
Yeah. Yeah.
As
Oh,
mothers,
absolutely.
we feel everything that they go through, and doesn't matter how old your child is, the minute it's in trouble, it's your baby again and needs to
Yep.
be rescued, and that's what we do. But I think that, so, the generation I grew up in, I mean, you just had to soldier on. I mean, there was, if you cried or showed emotion, you got the consequences of it. It wasn't good. It wasn't appreciated that someone went through those sorts of things or expressed themselves in that way. You were considered
Yeah.
weak, needy,
Yes.
or whatever. And that's
A
not good. But
burden.
at the same time, it sort of hardened us up a little bit so that we had to rely on ourselves a bit more. So, these
Mm.
kids that are, this generation that's growing up now, whatever age, up until, say 30, because as far as I'm concerned, you're still a child until you go through your Saturn return at 28. So, they're all children, and they should be being taught these tools of how to look after yourself, how to talk to people, how to share your problem, how to know that there's not something wrong with you. You're just going through this, just your hormones making you go crazy. All of these things that they're just not taught the right things to be able to cope with
No.
all of this. And then they go down in a heap, and the mental health care system is completely overrun because we haven't
No.
looked after these people. And so this
No.
is the consequence of it.
That's right. That's right. And isn't hindsight a beautiful thing, Deirdre?
Oh,
You know?
I don't know.
I look at
Sometimes it
my
just annoys me.
well, yeah. I look at my 15-year-old and then I look at how I parent my 6-year-old, and just having that experience of what I've seen work and not work, with my
Mm.
oldest, my poor darling, my
Yeah,
firstborn, who's really gone through it. And then there's my youngest who's just reaping the rewards of all the hard work of the firstborn.
yeah,
So yes, yes, the joys of being a mother and going
yeah.
through the
And
Scorpio
and I think
season.
Yeah, and I think it's really important to always, always remind yourself, no matter what you're going through, you're only going through it with the skills and the abilities you have at that time. So that's why I think hindsight
Oh,
is a
I
bit of a kick
agree.
in the teeth sometimes, because,
Yes,
you look back at things and you think, oh, I should never have done that, or I really regret that. But you didn't know then. You only
no,
can work with those. So I come across so many people beating themselves up for things they did years ago, or wish they'd never
yes,
done this, or wish they'd done that better. But that's all you had back then. Don't judge yourself now. You're a completely different person. It's not
that's
fair to
right.
judge yourself now on who you were back then.
And I think about that when I look at, some of the things, and I'm just going to, personalize this a little bit, like with my mother, who sort of still beats herself up for things that she didn't know at the time,
Yeah.
on her parenting. And, I think for a long time I did that. I did beat her up and say, why didn't you know when I was growing up? Because, it's all about
Yeah.
myself, like most young people are. But
Yeah.
now as a mother myself, I say, no, it's okay. Like I understand, mum, but for herself, she can't let that go. So you
Yeah.
really need to
And,
give yourself that permission slip.
yeah. And the power of forgiveness,
Yes.
especially
For
self-forgiveness.
yourself. Yes.
And you have done nothing wrong. You're just learning.
That's
Everything's
right.
learning. And so we don't always get it right. Most of the time we stuff it up majorly, at least the first one or two times, and then we get it right through the experiences. But so there's just no point in saying, oh, I'm so useless. I didn't do this. I didn't do that. No, you were learning how to do it right. So keep
Yes.
learning and it's okay.
Yes. Exactly. Exactly. All right. So now we're in Sagittarius
Yes. Season,
season. Exciting.
edgy season,
I
which is
love
always very
Saggies. Saggies
adventurous.
are great.
Yeah.
Yes.
They're fun, they're outgoing, they're
Yes.
adventurous. And, and the truth seekers. So when we go through Scorpio season, you might have, had some mental health stuff or stuff you needed to work on within yourself or became aware of. And so
Yeah.
once you move into Sagittarius season, you can learn to become the expert in that area by thinking, okay, well, I went through this and it was a challenge. What are the tools I can use to make this better? And how can I
Mm.
step into taking charge of myself so that I can feel better or be more responsible or to be in charge of what I'm going through? So I
Yeah.
think Sagittarius season, and it's always in a social season. I mean, it's coming up to Christmas time, so everybody's
Yes.
busy and doing things. So it's a much more lighter season than
Yes.
Scorpio season.
Yes, yes, it does. It always feels like a bit of fresh air after a dark period. I feel, summer, it feels very like, because in New Zealand, Aotearoa, we have our summer season. So this is where
Yeah.
we go to the beach a lot. We're out we're out getting that vitamin D and probably stepping more into nature. I would say there's a lot
Yeah,
more interaction
yeah,
with nature in this season as well. Do you think
yeah.
that relates to the
I
Sagittarius
think
energy?
that's very, very, and I just feel that the energy of nature is very, very important. Full stop. In the crazy world that we're living in now, where everything is just all over the place and very unreliable, nature stays the same. You know,
Yes.
it changes with the seasons, of course, but there's something about walking on a beach or walking in a forest or whatever that is very real. And one thing we have been living in New Zealand, who might be watching this from another country, we have this program on a Sunday night called Country Calendar, and it's been on for as long as I can remember. This show has been on TV, and it's for half an hour on a Sunday evening, and it's about some sort of farming community, some sort of farm, something to do with nature, something to do with that, and if I just watched it the other day and I thought to myself, if there's ever a time or something you need to ground yourself back into reality, watch Country Calendar, because it
Yeah.
just takes you back to what is real and what's natural
Right.
and what's happening out there. And there might not be anything you're interested in it, but it just brings you back down to what is real, which is nature, which is, the great outdoors. That's what's real. The rest of
Yes.
it's all an illusion.
Yes. Well, let's talk about what next year is going to look like, because we're closing out this kind of what I feel like. Well, you're talking about in the Pisces energy of the illusion
Yeah. Yeah.
of that energy, and then we're coming into the Aries energy. Is that what you?
Yeah.
Am I getting that right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And we have the new beginning. So what do you think this year
Okay.
1 year is going
Okay,
to
so
bring?
I feel that this number one 2026 year
Number one.
is
Thank
supposed
you.
to be the year of sovereignty. So
Yes.
sovereignty is your ability to think and act on what you feel to be true. So this is something that has been conditioned out of us for many, many years now, where we don't think for ourselves. Other people, powers that be, make decisions for us. They tell us what's best for us. They tell us how we should be educated and what we should learn when we go. I mean, imagine if a child could go to school and learn what it's interested in, rather than
I
being
know.
told, no, you must learn this. I mean, the society would be a completely different place. So much would be more would be discovered so much quicker, but we don't. And so so the year of authenticity really taught us, 2025 was to teach us to be who you are on the inside, on the outside, that if you want to create something, if you want to be something, then it's got to be aligned with who you truly are. And so once we've made that alignment, we step into 2026 and we start to have the confidence that it's okay to go with what you think is best. So we're moving out of a time of always having to check, is that what everybody else is doing? Or is that what the government says we should do? Or is that what the rules are? Or is that what the law is? And we're actually going into, actually, I'm not saying we're anarchy, but we're actually going, well, no, that doesn't actually feel right for me. That doesn't work for me. So I'm going to choose not to do that. I'm going to choose to think differently. And it doesn't have to be a big deal. It could be just small things in your life. But yeah, we're taking our power back. And this is what is so important at the moment, that we realize how much power we have as a community, as the people.
Am I right in thinking that it was the French Revolution when is that right? Am I linking that
Yeah,
up
when
right?
last time Pluto was in Aquarius, the
Yeah.
French Revolution, swiftly followed by the American Revolution.
And
Power
if we
back
look
to
at
the
what's
people.
happening in Aotearoa right now with Te
Yeah.
Tiriti and all the different.
But it's happening all around the world. Catherine, it's happening all around the world. It's just we don't see it on the mainstream news, but it is happening in every country around the world. The people are taking their power back, but they're not going to show us that because they don't want us to have our power. So
Of course
as we
not.
step into our sovereignty as individuals, we just start to, and Aries energy brings clarity. It's the first sign of the zodiac. So when we're under the influence of Aries, it's very easy to put yourself first and go, I have an opinion here. I know what to do here. And so it's really going to encourage people to really realize, actually, I can think for myself. If I choose, I can make a different choice to the ones that other people are making, and the world's not going to end. And I'm going to feel better for having done it. I'm going to feel more powerful and more in charge of my own life.
And so how do people implement this subtly so that they don't feel, because I do know that a lot of people, it's either because we're so used to dictatorship, it can be, all or nothing, that kind of,
Yeah.
how do we
Yeah.
kind of, implement that so that it is with ease, grace and flow instead of this massive
Yeah.
jolting?
Well, it's going to be tricky because Aries is ruled by Mars, and Mars is the planet of war. So there's no
Okay.
way that there's no way that this is going to be a peaceful transition for everybody. It will be for some, because I think it's basically like we were talking before about being in control of things. It's like that awareness, okay, can I change this situation? No, I can't. What can I do about this situation? I can stay in my own energy. So, for instance, when we look at some of the things that are going on in the world, whether you agree with what's going on or not, the minute you put your thoughts and your energy in that direction, you add to that. And so this is what sovereignty is about realizing, okay, I don't like that, so I'm not going to put my energy there. I'm going to keep my energy over here. So I'm not adding to what I don't like. I'm staying in myself and what I do like. So I think it'd be a good year for people to really focus on, because one of the beautiful things of having Saturn in Pisces for the last 3 years is it was asking everybody to really focus on their highest dreams, their highest desires, their fantasies, their needs, whatever. And really, what do you want? That was the big question. What do you really want from your life? And so once we get into Aries energy, we have the ability to construct that. Instead of just dreaming about it and imagining it and thinking about it and being stuck in the illusion, we take all of those dreams, we go, okay, what's the foundation for this? What's a program for this? What's a structure for this? So I can make my dreams come true. And we do that by standing in our own sovereignty and realizing the importance of our individual dreams and aspirations, and how they're just as important as everybody else's, but you've got to make them work. No one else is going to do it for you. So I think people are really going to feel a lot more empowered, and that's what they should feel.
Perfect. And it feels like with the Aries energy as well, they're actually going to have the clarity and the peace of mind, or
Yes.
the focus to be able to put those steps, instead of, like you've said, with this
Yeah.
Pisces energy where it's like, oh, well, I'll just dream something else now. Well, that was
Yeah.
fun, but now
And
let's
maybe
go
I'll
to the
do
next
that,
dream.
and I'll dabble in Yeah, I'll do a little dabble here and a little dabble there, but this is going to be, nope, it's going to be black and white. This is what we're doing. We're going to get on with it. But the other thing is being a number 1 year, it's a year of new beginnings. And this is going to be a little bit tricky because we've got Uranus is now in Gemini for the next 7 years. And so Uranus is the planet of constant change and independence, and Gemini is the planet of curiosity and adventure, and also of change too. So when we combine these two together, there's going to be a lot of opportunities being presented to everybody in all sorts of areas of their life. And the thing is, we can't do everything. So I
No.
think that the sovereignty has to be quite aligned with discernment. And
Yes.
really knowing what's good for me, what's good for you as an individual, not what you can do to please everybody else, or not what everybody expects of you, but how can I be me, just being me, and be the best version of me I can possibly be.
And would the pleasing everybody else and wanting to keep everything peaceful, is that's more your Pisces energy, isn't it?
Yeah, very much so. Yeah, yeah.
Yes. Okay.
And the
So,
opposite, because when we're dealing with a powerful, the powerful Aries energy, we also have to look at the opposite of Aries, which is Libra. And because Libra is all about relationships. So,
yes.
as much as we're here to put ourselves first, we've still got to value our relationships and, again, understand the power of the people. When we all come together,
Yes.
believing the same thing, talking about the same thing, standing up for the same thing, we have an incredible amount of power. But for as
Yes.
long as we just keep to ourselves and think, well, I think this, but I don't think anybody else will, so I'll just keep it to myself, nothing happens.
Yes. Or, and I think that's the thing around, spiritual awakening or any kind of soul work, is that we do kind of feel quite, we want to just keep it close to ourselves and we don't want to express it. But in order to be able to help other people on this journey, it is so important to say, hey, I really like that. If they see our podcast and they say, look, that really rings true to me, comment, share it, get this information out so that other people also have the same opportunities to be able to grow and expand as you
Yeah.
are. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Because I
very
think, the growth of social media and things has made people extremely judgmental of themselves, especially.
yes,
And so people don't, scared to speak up. They're scared to be different. But we're in the
yes.
age of Aquarius. We're all supposed to be embracing being different. And it's going to slowly build up. But I am noticing more and more already, people are becoming a little bit more comfortable with coming up with a different idea or having a different perspective, rather than before they would have gone, just sort of sat there and maybe thought about it, but not wanted to interact or share it.
And for us who are clairvoyants, it wasn't that hard to watch.
Yeah. Yeah.
I truly found that very hard to watch or to be around people, because it was like, please speak your truth. Tell me what you're
Yeah.
truly thinking. I
Yeah.
can't. Just couldn't do it. Whereas it's quite exciting to know that
Yeah.
in this new year, we're going to be able to be around more sovereignty, more integrity. I feel like that's going to be
Yes.
quite big next
Yes.
year as well,
And more community.
and more
Because
community.
Aquarius, with all of its energy about, involving people being different and, doing your own thing and dancing to your own drumbeat, is very Aquarian. But also Aquarian energy loves community. It loves,
Yes,
because it understands that we can all be different, but all still be one as well. And this
yes,
is something we've really grown apart from. Community has not been celebrated or in any way, I think. And this is why I look at, when I always look at the changes going on in the world, I always look at the indigenous communities around the world and think they're the ones that are going to ace this, because they already know how to work together. Whereas most white people like me have completely lost touch with community and working together as one. But,
yeah,
everywhere, like I've just moved towns, and so this little town I've just moved to has just started up a little innovative hub, a community hub
right,
for new ideas, for new things. And this is what every community needs to do, because it
yes.
pulls everybody in with their different ideas, and they all get to share and all get to create and all get to come up with solutions for the community, which we can all make use of. So yeah,
You know,
it's going to be
do you
quite the
think
year.
Sorry, do you think that I listen to that and I think, yeah, I agree, but I also believe that in our more rural areas, so where we've got our farming communities, where we've got our spiritual communities, where we've got our artists, that kind of thing, we see a lot more of it
Mhm.
there, and it's
Yeah.
versus when we're in the cities, and when we look at the cities,
Yes.
we're so disconnected from nature. We're on the little mouse wheel, we've got to, in order to stay there, it's all about working hard, and you work from the minute you wake up to the minute you go to sleep at night, pretty much.
Yeah.
It's that disconnection from yourself, so disconnecting from your natural state. Um,
Yes.
I do, so I wonder how that's going to look for those in your built up areas like the cities.
Yeah. Well, that's it. I think they're going to struggle the most, definitely, because they're so disconnected from one another.
Yeah.
Because when you think that if you can suddenly be, if for instance all the power went out and the internet went down and everything sort of died on that technology thing, all you're going to have is the people around you. So if you're living in a city and you've never even met the people that live next door, how are you going to help one another? How are you going to be there for one another? Whereas we're in the rural communities or the farming community or the artistic communities, as you say, they've all got something that brings them together anyway. And so it'll be easier for those people who are already in those established communities to just carry on. But I think it's something for us all to think about is to, spend more time with the people around you, because they could be the only people that you connect with if that does happen, because it could happen.
And then we look at what happens when there is that disconnection and people are struggling and people aren't, coping with the changes. What does that look like? Well, we know what it looks like. People
Yeah.
start to turn against each other, because they
Yeah.
have I look at this as which is not really something I really want to bring into the kōrero, but, methamphetamine. The thing with methamphetamine is it actually stops him from being able to connect with other people. It's like a big, what I see it, like when I see it from a spiritual perspective, it's like they just shut off, it's like a big cloud over them and they just have there's like a field. They're not connected to anything. So which means they're not able to be accountable, or they have no real able to relate, and that is really dangerous because so that's what I see with this disconnection in the cities, is that if they go into this, if this does happen, which is likely to happen, I do believe that is going to happen, where we are going to have to come back to communities working together, and that's a whole nother rabbit hole, but I'm not going to go there right now. But just how dangerous that looks,
Yeah.
What is so then we just go
But,
back to the verses. Oh, sorry. Yes.
I was going to say, what's an even worse addiction than meth that also completely disconnects people are their phones.
Oh, yes. Wasn't that a secret assassin?
I read a thing on Facebook the other day, and I don't know if it's true or not, but it really, really sparked something. It gave me goosebumps and sparked something that usually is an indication that it's real. And it was a story, and like I said, I don't know if it's true, of a young girl who, she was 10 years old and she was in a car crash, and she died in this car crash with her mother and siblings. And so she died, and she said, and this was my experience, I died and I met Jesus. And she said Jesus wasn't looking like a long-bearded man like the picture. She said he was just pure light. And she said to him, am I dead? Have I died? And he said, yes, you have, but you're not going to stay dead. We're going to send you back. But first of all, I want to show you something. So he took her somewhere and he said, look down at earth. And all she could see, and she said, look at all the children. So she's looking at all of these children all on their phones like this.
Yes.
And as she looked more closely, what she could see, and Jesus showed her, was huge black links of big, thick chains chaining them round their necks to their phones. The gamers were the worst. Their chains were so thick, and they were so, and he was said to her, they can't hear me anymore. They can't hear nature anymore. They can't hear God energy. They can't hear spirit. They can't hear the earth anymore because they're completely addicted to these phones. And that's the worst addiction that's out there, those phones. I mean, we worry about AI and the robots and everything coming in, but we're already doing it with the phones.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's, we talk about, like, I listen to different channelers and different people who work in our field, and they talk about, with AI coming through, with these technology upgrades, that they were all meant to happen. We were all meant to, this is just kind of one part of the cycle of what we go through. But it's about how we manage it. So when I'm on my phone, for example, I'm on my phone because I'm looking for things to connect and to grow me and to expand me, right? It's like reading a book. It's like people that read books, they pick up a book and they want the knowledge. That's why I use my phone, or connection, if I want to see how family members are. So as long as we're aware of why we're using it, it's when we're just sitting there and scrolling through this.
Scrolling. Yeah.
Scrolling.
Scroll.
The doom scroll, which is actually not good, because we're subliminally taking messages from these different things that we're viewing, and we're not actually in control of what we're creating. So it's about, I guess, really educating your children, or educating ourselves, and staying conscious in how we're using these devices, because they aren't going anywhere, are they, Deidre?
Yeah, but they are such an addiction. I mean, unbelievable the amount of time that I think my phone popped up the other day and said that my average was on my phone last week 2 hours. I'm thinking, how the hell did I spend 2 hours on my phone? I thought I was busy doing other things, and it just all adds up.
Deirdre, that's hardly anything in the grand scheme of things. You're very
Whereas
much in
the other
control of how
day,
much phone usage you get.
well,
But,
I'm trying hard because I can sit there and scroll.
yeah, yeah. And I think it's a way to decompress. A lot of people use it to decompress. So then how do we look at that?
Yeah.
Okay, well, we need to make sure that we're controlling our algorithms really well. We're not just
Mm.
having like, so I know if I ever do get into the scrolling, I'm scrolling spiritual work, right? I'm scrolling things that grow and
Yeah.
expand my
Yeah.
consciousness. I'm not scrolling things that are like, oh, that girl looks pretty and that makes me feel like shit, like, and because I don't look like that because I'm a 40-year-old woman, not a
Yeah.
20-year-old baby. Like,
Yeah.
it's really,
Exactly.
yeah. So educating your children, I think, is how we need to do it. And like what I found with my daughter who's just come back from boarding school is that she had usage of her phone more so than what I would have allowed. And so
Oh,
I'm having to take that away from her now and manage it better because you're allowed to take their phones to school. They're just not allowed to have them on. But, when you've got teens that think they know it all, they have them on or they're
yeah.
allowed to take
Of
them
course
to
I
the
do.
hospital, in the boarding house because they need to be able to contact their parents. Well, really, they're not contacting their parents. They're talking to their girlfriends or scrolling on their phones. So
Yeah.
now I'm having to manage that and just say, yes, you can have your time, but you need to make sure that, you go for a walk first and then have maybe half an hour. And so, and then, okay, do some housework and then maybe half an hour. So it's about having those action steps, those tools in place so that they know how to regulate themselves and they know how to use it instead of just
Yeah.
sitting there and getting lost in the
Yeah.
scrolling and the,
Absolutely. Yeah,
yeah,
I know someone who had to be sort of institutionalized recently, and their phone was of course taken off them. And
yeah,
when I asked them how they were coping with that, they actually, said, actually, I think it's really good
I
because
feel better.
I'm not seeing things that trigger me immediately and set me off.
Exactly.
So yeah, good
Exactly.
for them to be able to see how,
But I
without even
also,
looking for something to upset you, it's there.
And also talking into that our brains aren't actually made to take in that much information in such a short amount
Yeah,
of time. Like we
yeah.
are not. So of course we're going to have those who are more susceptible to lower mood. It is going to be a trigger
Hmm.
for them, or somebody
Yeah,
like
yeah.
myself. I'm going to talk into my own personal. Is that my daughter's had a traumatic brain injury? She came off a motorbike 6 years ago, and she hasn't been the same since. So she can't be on her phone constantly because it just puts her into a very low state. It overstimulates her mind, and she can't
Right.
she can't handle it,
Yeah.
right? And so regulating it is just so much more important for our kids that
Mm.
have their challenges. My daughter
Yeah, and
anyway.
that's the big challenge with teenagers is that, because they haven't had the life experience, they're not, what we can see as a trigger and absolutely see that that's
Uh,
not gonna work for you,
There's
they
that.
can't see it
Uh-huh.
for themselves, and of course, as a teenager, you know everything, and so
Oh yeah.
and we were the same, we were exactly the same. We didn't have phones, but,
Oh, I don't
I
think
didn't
I
anyway,
was, Deidre. No,
and
I
s
don't think I was. No, I think I remember being quite perfect as a teenager. I'm joking. You silly.
your nose is growing.
Denial of denial.
Yeah, so 2026, I think 2027, I think, will be when things start to sort themselves out.
Right.
2026 will give us an idea of what direction things are gonna start going in.
So when
So
I
the
pick up
more
an energy
positivity.
of, oh, so 2026 I feel is very much a head down, bum up kind of a year. Am I right? Is that where we put
Yeah,
in all the
yeah,
steps and we're really and then
yeah.
2027,
We're
yeah,
creating new foundations. Yeah.
creating new foundations. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And of course, because we have got Uranus and Gemini energy, they might feel like there's a lot more opportunities for you than you can actually do, which there will be. So you've got to be very discerning. We've got to be very aware with that authenticity. There might be this amazing opportunity for you to do something which is completely unaligned with who you are, but looks really exciting. Well, don't do it because it's not actually going to allow you to evolve and grow. It's just a fantasy or an illusion. You want to be, working at what you want to develop the most. What's the most important to you? Working on that. Again, not being there. I mean, of course, we need to be there for other people, but you can't be riding other people's coattails, and you can't be following someone else's dream. It's got to be your own.
Oh, I love that. I'm so about that. In regards to discernment, I feel like a good way to be able to give you that time and time to be able to really be clear on it and what is for you and what isn't for you is to pause, right? Is to have that pause instead of
Yes.
saying yes
Yeah.
straight away. Pause, really give
Yes.
yourself that time,
And
say to them,
feel
look,
into it.
feel into it. That's right. Give me some time just to feel
Yeah.
into this and I'll
'Cause
get
we're all
back to
very
you.
used to thinking into things. Yeah, because 'cause we're
Yes.
already good at thinking into things and weighing up the pros and cons logically and academically, does this work, does it not? But we've forgotten how to feel into things and just actually does that feel right? Because how many times do you do things because it ticks all the boxes, it's the right
Yeah.
thing to do, but you feel sick while you're doing it or you feel wrong
Right?
while you're doing it? That feeling is more important than the logic.
Yes, it is. I mean, that is what is creating, that is what creates your creation, is the feeling of it. So if you're
Yeah,
feeling happy and excited,
that's
then that's what you're gonna create. But if you're feeling the lack or the, oh, this doesn't align, well, that's what that's gonna feel the whole way through it.
exactly, exactly. Yeah, so we've gotta be the creators of our own paradise, really, and it all has to come
Mm,
from you, each of us
yes,
as individuals, and we pull in
yes,
the help of other people, but it's gotta be your dream. Your
yes.
you didn't come here to be we're all part of other people's lives, but you came here with your own purpose, and so that's that's what you need to fulfill.
And we need to look at that because we're still talking about, the collaboration, so collaborating with others and collective consciousness and that kind of thing. We need to look at those that are on the same waka, is what I would say, on the same boat, rowing
Mm,
in the
yeah,
same direction as
yeah,
you. So it's not about just going, okay, well, I've got my own waka, see ya. Off I go. It's okay, who
yeah,
can we all jump
yeah,
in the same waka with together and row together in the same direction and support each other so that we're still bringing in
yeah.
that community and the feeling of
Yeah,
being
and
part
when
of
we bring all those wakas together, yeah, because you're bringing all those waka together with all the different, with each person in each waka with their own gift and talent. Well, when they
yeah.
bring all those together, create something amazing.
Yes,
Yeah, so it's about knowing what you're capable of, but being more than willing to share that and collaborate and use that with other people.
yes, and making sure that I think as that we're all winning. I think there's a lot of that. A lot of the time, we feel like there has to be sacrifice. Where, oh well, I'll give, I'll sacrifice this, and then that person can get the win this time, and then maybe next time they'll sacrifice.
Yeah,
No, we should all be winning
yeah,
together in what we're creating.
yeah.
Yeah,
And that's again a very old-fashioned way of thinking that there can be no gain without pain.
right.
We always, as human beings, we are so stupid. We always choose the hard road. There's always an easy one lying there, but no, we seem to think, no, I've got to make it as painful and as challenging as possible, or else it's not learnt. And often it doesn't actually need to be that hard.
No, no, exactly. Exactly. Because when you're in alignment with source energy, it's not hard. Everything just flows. It just flows to you. Everything
Absolutely.
for
Yeah.
you just
Yeah.
flows to
And
you.
if it's not flowing, you're not, then it's not for you.
And that's right. It's pretty simple, isn't it, Deidre?
Yeah.
Yeah, we
It is
all get
really.
caught up in the human. Yeah, that we all get caught up in the humanness of lifing. It just does. We just
Yeah.
do. And that's the challenge of being a spirit in a human vessel. That's why we came here to go through these different lessons.
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
so,
And always, reminder to everyone, you're here at this time for a purpose. So don't forget you've got something to do while you're here. You're
yes,
not just here to eat popcorn and watch the movie. You've got a role to play.
we'll sleep your life away. Goodness me.
Yeah,
Or just go to a job that doesn't make you happy or fulfilled. Yeah, life is too short for that. We should all be out there living, not surviving.
absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
what I was wanting to know is we have a full moon. Is it the 5th of December? Am I right? Is our next full
Yeah.
moon the
Full
5th of
moon
December?
in, oh, yeah, it is. Forgotten what
It's the
it's in
5th
though.
or
I
the
haven't
4th?
had a look.
Gemini?
No, I think it's, oh no, it's the fourth. It's the fourth.
It's the
It's
4th.
the
Okay.
fourth.
4th of December. And
Yeah.
it's a Gemini full moon?
Yeah,
Yeah?
Gemini, because Gemini full moon, yeah. So that should be a really fun full moon actually, because Gemini, it's very curious energy, it's very social, it's very outgoing, and the full moon brings everything to the surface, so it should be. But I think you just have to be a little bit aware of trickery when it's a full moon in
Of
Gemini,
course
because
I'm
Gemini
Gemini.
energy it's very good at taking something and embellishing it, like the fish is always this big instead of the
Oh,
fish
yeah.
was actually that big. So I think of the Gemini full moon, things could come up or be embellished a little bit overly. So it wouldn't be a good time to be, definitely wouldn't be making any major agreements or contracts, signing any contracts under a Gemini full moon, because you'd miss something or read it differently to what it should be. So, but it should
Okay.
be a fun full moon.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
I
And
think it's
so
a
what
super
would you
full moon too, so I'll be very close to. Yeah.
beautiful. And so what would you say would be a good way to work with this full moon in regards to like setting
Um,
intentions or that kind of
Go
thing?
probably probably enjoy yourself with people, get together with people that you care about, that you enjoy being around, and have some fun.
Yeah.
Communicate, socialize, try something new. Yeah, just have fun with it, definitely. I don't think it's one where we really need to. I mean, full moons
Agreed.
bring everything to fruition, so it could also be a good time. If there is a conversation that you need to have with somebody, it could be a good time to have it.
And this is just me just being curious. I have no idea around this, but would it be a good time because it's around social, it's around fun? Is it a good time to write down intentions around what you want to bring in regards to that area of your life, of your of your community, or what you want that to look like? Would that
Yep,
help?
yep, absolutely. Yeah, it could be a good time to actually more, maybe not so much writing it down, but actually communicating it, having those conversations with
The
people
spoken word.
about what you
Yes.
could do or what we could do or whatever it might be. Yeah, absolutely. Because Gemini is all about communication, and Gemini isn't really a sign of the zodiac that does due diligence or puts a lot of research and things. It just acts impulsively. This is why if you come together with a whole lot of people on a Gemini full moon, you can brainstorm about something, and all of you would be pinging off each other, really coming up with the new different ideas of how you could do this and how you could do that.
Oh, that sounds exciting. It's great way,
Yeah,
great use of power. Great use of the full moon power. Okay,
yeah,
so we've got 2025. We're almost at the end. A number 9 year coming into 2026. A number 1 year with our Aries season, which is going to get some momentum going, get us really creating some wonderful plans forward. Sovereignty,
yeah.
which is
Because I
exciting.
think, yeah, because I think it would be great. The more foundations you can lay in 2026, the better. And I don't mean lay lots of foundations, but I mean lay a solid foundation. And the thing is,
Mm.
it can be changed again at another time. Because interestingly, I was just calculating in my head that we've got a number 9 year, then to next year's a number 1 year, but 2027 is a number 11 year. It's a master
So
number,
that
and
doesn't
we
turn
we
into
don't
a
we
two.
don't no, we don't break down master numbers. 11, 22, 33, 44, they don't break down, they stay what they are. So that would mean that being a master year, it's a pivotal year for the earth plane, a year of
So
mastery.
exciting.
So whatever we're creating next year or creating the foundations for next year, we can step into the mastering that in 2027.
I feel like we could have a whole nother hour on 2027. What do you think?
I try not to go too far ahead because so much can change and things are all
Yes.
over the place. So I try and I wouldn't be making many predictions or projections about 2027 just yet till we see what 2026 deals up for us. But
But
I
what
do feel
does
being a master year, it will be very significant.
yes, and what does that significance mean? Just from historically, what usually happens in a master year, especially the
Well,
11 1 1.
one of the things that a lot of people are talking about, like, do you follow Bashar
I
on
love
Instagram?
Bashar. I love Bashar.
Yeah,
Absolutely love him.
yeah. So he's talking about it being the year where we'll connect with the galactics,
Oh yes, of
where they'll
course.
make themselves
Of course.
known to us.
I'm
Mm.
so
So
excited for
that's one
this.
that may happen, that may not happen. It would be
Mm,
wonderful if it did, but I don't.
totally.
I'm so many people out there are waiting and thinking someone's going to come and rescue us, someone's going to come and fix us. No, we stuffed this up all by ourselves, and now we have to fix it by ourselves. But I do
Mm.
believe once humanity, the entire population of the Earth plane, swings more towards love and compassion, and away from war and violence, then they will come and help us. But until we do that, they're not going to come and help.
I believe that it's regarding energetic frequency as well. So for them to actually be able to connect with us on the frequency where it doesn't, where we can actually comprehend them, we actually, as a consciousness, needs to raise our
Yes.
frequency to be able to have that experience.
Yeah.
So maybe that's what we do over the next year or two, is we raise our
Yeah.
collective consciousness
And
and
again, the more you, yeah, and I think that the more sovereign you are to yourself, the more you'll raise your consciousness because you start to
absolutely.
rely more on what you feel, and what you feel is coming from spirit, or is our
Yeah.
cooperation or collaboration with spirit. So it
Yes.
just makes sense that that's the road to take.
Yes, yes. Well, I'm crossing my fingers too
Yeah,
with
could
Bashar.
be. Yeah,
And you?
yeah, yeah, Yeah. What will be, will be. We'll see.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah,
Well,
great.
Deidre, I know you have other commitments to get to today, and I'm so grateful for having you on the show. As
Yeah.
always, it's been fun, exciting, and I know everyone's got a lot out of listening to this podcast today. So thank you so much. Fano, before we wrap up, I just want to add something in there because we lost Deidre right at the end of the recording. Deidre is now taking bookings for her year ahead readings for next year. If you're wanting insight, clarity, or guidance for your personal year coming up, you can book in with her through her website, www.starwise.com, or simply click the link in the bio. Her bookings always fill up quickly, so get in early if you feel called. I've had a reading with Deidre in the past, and you won't be disappointed. I also want to give a heartfelt thank you to Deidre for coming on the podcast again. We're so grateful for her continual contribution to the spiritual community, for the work she provides for so many, and for the incredible dedication she brings to our collective spiritual expansion. We appreciate her deeply. And whānau, if this kōrero resonated with you, please like, share, follow, and subscribe. Your support helps this kaupapa reach more people who need these conversations. And I am truly grateful.